Hey, it's Christy from Cottage Grove Quilt Company. Thank you for joining me in my quilting studio today. I wanted to have a casual conversation with you. I have a cup of hot water here and just sit down and visit with my friends and talk to you a little bit about my quilting journey. So grab a cup of coffee, grab a cup of tea, hot tea, water, whatever your preference is, or whatever you prefer to drink. Just get a hold of it and sit down and let's just have a little chat. How does that sound? I do love some hot water. So I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit today about my quilting journey. I talk all the time about different stuff related to quilting but a lot of people may not know, how did I get here? How did I start this adventure? Well, actually, this adventure started long before I was ever an apple in my mama's eye. It started with my grandmother. My grandmother was very much a use everything kind of person, and she was also a quilter. And I remember once, one of my favorite things to pack around when I was a kid was a quilt that my grandma had made. And what she had done was she had used all the pieces of fabric that she had from past clothes and past articles of things and put it all together in a quilt. And what's funny, I kind of chuckle at it now, she was such a utilitarian fabric user that she mixed wool and cotton together, which meant when you washed it, it shrank at different rates. And so I kind of chuckle now a little bit, but it means a lot to me. And still today, at this juncture of my life, that quilt that I had as a child that I carried till it's in rags, I still have it. I still have it. When I turned 18, my grandfather, who was definitely an old school Southern man who felt I was an old maid by the time I turned 18. I hadn't gotten married yet. I was 18. What do you mean? You're not married yet. You don't even have a boyfriend. Use an old maid. He'd tell me funny things like that. Well, he felt certain that I needed to have a quilt to start my hope chest with. And so when I was 18, he took me out onto this sweet friend of our family. Her name was Miss Rosie, and he drove me out to Miss Rosie's house, and he said, I want you to pick out one of her quilts. And I said, what? And he said, I want you to pick out one of her quilts. And sure enough, he let me pick out whichever one I wanted, and that was a beautiful bow tie quilt. I still have it, and it was one that Miss Rosie made. And not only did she piece it, but she hand quilted it. And that has been a treasure in my life for years and years and years. And he just was so proud to give me a quilt for Miss Rosie. That was just, it was like one of his life's dreams was to do that for me. And then when I got married to my husband 22 years ago, my grandmother decided John and I needed a quilt for our room, and so she made me a quilt. That's just what we do, right? We make quilts. We buy quilts. We make sure our kids have quilts. My grandparents were all about that. Well, when I decided, when the kids had grown up a little bit, and our youngest was a male child and didn't need a whole lot of inspiration from his parents at this point in life, I decided I needed a hobby. So I thought, well, I'm a lot like my grandma. I'll take a quilting class. And when I did, it was as if everything just fell into place. And it just literally, all of the pieces just came together and just lined up. And after that, it was like, okay, I can do this. But I want to show you one of my grandma's projects, just to give you a glimpse into her world. So this is my grandma's handwriting. It just almost makes me tear up thinking about it. But she wrote this in March the 15th, 1979. And so what she does is she says 4-inch blocks, makes a crib quilt, approximately finished size 40 by 50. So she actually would graph all of this out and say exactly what she needed. She needed 50 blocks for the border. The background, she needed to do, what says here, 67 blocks. Can't make out that piece. The dog, we need 40 blocks. and then the collar, and she just spells all these different things out about this quilt. And it's just really funny, and, you know, how she wrote this pattern out. My grandmother never would be one to just say, buy a pattern. She would strictly, you know, do what you have here is just handwrite down all these notes on a piece of notebook paper. She may draw it out on a piece of graph paper, and then that would be it. And then she would then make templates out of cardboard or newspaper print and cut her pieces out. That's how she did things. So I'm going to show you this quilt. Now, I have this quilt in the intent of finishing it because it's actually a gift to my dad's cousin, but you know, it was one of my grandmother's unfinished projects. Little did she know that her granddaughter is now a quilter. But this is her unfinished project, and my assignment is to finish it. So currently it's now my unfinished project. That is so cute. It's such a memory to have that. So we go way back in my family with this. Let me grab my chair, fall over, roll out. Okay, so we go way back in my, you know, my grandmother was definitely, I have that gene from her, so that's kind of neat. So for me, when I got started in quilting again, the lights came on and everything came together. And suddenly I was into finding all the quilting magazines, all the new tools, all the new fabric, all the latest things. And then I had this shop in our area said they would be taking a bus to the American Quilter Society show in Paducah. And anybody who wanted to be on the bus, you just had to pay a fee to ride the bus, like $30, and that was your bus ticket. But you went down in the morning and came back that evening. And I said, well, I really want to do it, but I don't have no one to do it with. So I decided, good grief, I go everywhere else by myself. I might as well do this by myself. So I did. I did. And I had no idea what the quilting world was until I walked into the American Quilter Society show in Paducah, Kentucky. I was blown out of the water. I never saw quilts like I saw at the American Quilter Society in Paducah. I never saw so many fabric vendors and quilting tool vendors that I saw at the American Quilter Society show in Paducah, Kentucky. I was blown away, out of the water. Well then, I mean, it was just like, I mean, not only did everything come together the year before when I started this, but then when I saw that, it was like, oh, I have found my calling, you know, kind of a thing. So I started learning everything I possibly could. And I came across a Fons and Porter article that literally changed my life. We always hear people say, well, that moment changed my life. Well, this moment changed my life. And that was an article from Deb Tucker on using a Lemoyne star. And Deb Tucker is the owner and creator of all the tools from Studio 180. Well, fast forward numerous years, 8-9 years, and I become a Studio 180 certified instructor. And that, you know, well, before I became an instructor, I became a long arm quilter. Then I became an instructor for Studio 180, and then that launched me into opening the business that I now have today. So it's been a journey. It's been a wonderful journey. It's been filled with lots of stitches, lots of seam ripping, a lot of backpedaling, a lot of different things. But I have to say, of anything, the most wonderful part of the journey is meeting all of the people I've met, both the friends in my life here locally, the virtual people in my life that I just love to hear from. It's an amazing journey, and I am just so thankful to be a part of it. So thank you very much for allowing me to be a part of your quilting journey. So we will talk again soon. Have a great day and stitch something beautiful. Bye-bye.